Okay, we need to talk. So, chapter 1147 came out, entitled The Things We Find Scary. We're going to go down a little bit in the chapter to start off to where Jinbe gets captured. I don't really mind that Brook, Usopp, and Nami get captured because that's happened before. They've had fault. It's okay. I expect that to happen, but not with Jinbe. You want to know why? Because Jinbe for over 10 years has been the man without fault. He's been written as someone who is almost a Gary Stu of sorts, in which he can do no wrong and he knows everything. But in this very moment, in this very chapter, he says, "Quit making a racket. I'm trying to think. I wonder, how do we handle this ability?" So the man that can fend off Big Mom, the man that comes out unscathed in a fight against Aki Inu, the man who can beat the brakes off a former CP9 agent that was a prodigy, much like Rob Lucci, the man who can distract Rob Lucci, the man who can do all of these things is now beaten by cloth. I don't care that it's special cloth. That's really besides the point. The point is that he got speed blitzed from the last chapter by Gunko, taken advantage of, and now here he sits, bounded up. What is this character? This might just be the worst character in the entire series, because you cannot, by any circumstances, write him as the most bravest, most intelligent, most can do no wrong and can do no fault character for over 10 years and then have him in this position. It makes no sense. You can dress it up however you want. This character is the worst character in the series. His writing is weird. His writing is confusing. You can't be ignorant of this situation when you know what Katakuri's devil fruit is and you know how to counteract it. Does anyone remember that? During the tea party, he announced that Katakuri was a special paramecia and he knew how to counteract the stickiness of the mochi by using his fishman jujitsu on a bunch of tea, therefore relieving the mochi of its stickiness and freeing Luffy. Now, mind you, too, the mochi at the time was hockeyed up, so the fact that he knew that would work is crazy. The fact that he even knew what his power was is crazy, because at that time, the special paramecia status of a fruit was a completely new thing. We have never seen a special paramecia before, so that's weird. Then, later on in that same arc, he gives us a full breakdown on Sulong. And I keep bringing this up because it's so weird. It's so weird. Why did he have to tell us this knowledge? There's no precedent for him even knowing about this. That's why it's strange. And people will probably ask me, well, why don't you feel the same about Brook? Brook is different because anytime that Brook knows something, it's either set up like how he knew about the zombies being weak to Saw, or it's based in him being from a different time period that we have never really gone into detail about. Even here, he's like, that woman, no, it couldn't be. So it's like he knows her, or at least is familiar with someone who looks like her, which builds intrigue because we know he's from a time that we've never really gone into detail about. So that's fine. And it's even funnier because right after Jinbe is lamenting about how he got captured or whatever, we have this beautiful speech from Brook and saying that, no, I was given a second lease on life from Monkey D. Luffy. I would sooner embrace death than to live without honor. Do you know how base that is? Compare that with Jinbe. And it's been this way this whole arc so far. Jinbe says something completely idiotic, like, oh, if something's weird going on, it's gotta be a Dofru power. And then Brook, right after that, says, well, based on how crazy things are you sure it's just 2 intruders and not more? Like, he's actively breaking down the situation. And this is so weird because it feels as though there's been a flip, because before this, like in Whole Cake Island again, is Jinbe who's the commander of the ship and saying, oh, we need to keep our heads on a swivel. There's no time to despair. And he's talking down to Brooke in this matter back then. And I can't tell you how many times people would tell me back when Fishman Island was still in the manga that, oh, Jinbe's a master strategist. His whole gag in the future will be naming the plans that he makes. Woo! He's so smart. He's so brave. He's so smart, in fact, that he's the strategist for the entire Big Mom Pirates. Which I don't know where people got that from. That's crazy. The man makes one plan randomly, and now he's a master tactician. They were on this too when he set up the meeting between Luffy and Capone. Like, no. He's just in the arc to do things. This is not a part of his personality. Clearly not, because he got outplayed here. So where was the plan here? It's so infuriating. But now he doesn't know what to do. And mind you, he's got a billion-berry bounty. So I'm very confused as to what the purpose of his character is. Because now we've gone from him being a Gary Stu who knows all and does everything to him floundering like a fish on the deck. It's weird. I don't understand what's going on. Why is he written in this manner? Also, I find it very ironic that the master of tacking, the master of rope, the best helmsman in the world is defeated by Claw. Like this is clown shoes. What is this, bruh? No, I'm so done, bruh. I'm so done with this character. This is some foolish writing. I can't with this. Oh, man. Oh, we're going to make such a big movie about him in the future. Goodness gracious. Okay. I think he needs to be written out of the story. I can't. I can't with him. I can't. It's been bad for 10 years. He's either perfect or he's stupid. It doesn't make sense. There's no nuance here. There's nothing to glean from this. It's just bad writing. And I don't know why he chooses to write Jinbe this poorly. And I knew way back in the day when we were in Marineford and I heard so much talk online about him possibly joining the Straw Hats in the future. I knew this was going to be a problem because people back then were saying he was going to be the helmsman. And I knew it was going to be a problem because in the way that One Piece is set up, tragedy and foibles have to happen in order for the plot to progress. And a lot of that is being taken advantage of by a storm or whatever. Even some of the video games happen in that way. That's how you start the plot off. So you would have to make the helmsman super incompetent in order for the plot to progress. And now the example of this that we've gotten is that when the plot just needs him not to be there, he'll just abandon his post for whatever reason, even though there are other people on the crew that can swim and have special abilities that allow them to swim fast, like Sanji. Because if you recall, at the start of Egghead, this happened. Jinbe abandoned his post. Frankie, take the wheel! Gave it to Frankie to go save Luffy, Chopper, and Bonnie. However, Sanji has the ability known as Blue Walk, which allows him to swim as fast as a fishman in water. Mind you, this was at the start of the time skip before the whole German evolution stuff started. So that means that that ability is perhaps even stronger now than it was back then, which leads me to believe that this character is again floundering. I don't think Oda knows what to do with him. And I knew too, in making him a warlord and seeing as how warlords are put on such a high pedestal in the series, trying to dumb him down to make him fit in with the rest of the characters was going to be weird. And it has been, because this is the first instance in 10 years that he's actually faltered. And it doesn't make any sense. And it's done in the most obtuse way possible. Because it doesn't even make sense. How is he taken advantage of? How did it happen? Is Gunko just that fast? Is that what you're telling me? Gunko can speed blitz Jinbe. Okay. The man that we're putting on the same pedestal as Sanji. And another thing And we're going to do an even bigger video about this very soon because I got so much to say about him. But it's just weird, too, that so many people wanted, and I've been in multiple conversations about this over the years. People wanted Jinbe to join the crew and then become stagnant. And this, I don't know if people still hold this sentiment, but that was a really big thing. People just wanted him and they just wanted him to sit there and not do anything. They didn't want him to grow. They didn't want him to develop any new abilities or anything like that. Just sit there and be stagnant. I don't get that. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And it's weird too, because even as late as last chapter, we're putting Jinbe on a pedestal because he put out the fire and saved the kids from the inferno, right? With his immaculate fishman karate. So if he could do all this stuff and he's perfect all the time, why have him be written here in this way? And I fault Oda because over the years, you shouldn't have put him so high up and made him so perfect all the time. If you had him falter every now and again, this right here would be more believable. Him being tied up and taken advantage of here would be believable. It would be. But seeing as how he's been perfect for 10 years and is rarely even like bogged down by anybody, even Aki Inu, he burned his hand, but he wasn't in pain by it, which was weird. I'll put it up on screen. Nothing happened. He just got a little burned. He was like, and that's it. Other dudes, like that one Whitebeard pirate, was just swimming in magma. Like, he's probably dead. But not Jinbe. No, Jinbe was fine. So again, I'm just confused as to where Oda wants to go with this character, because he's been a very alien creature on this crew since his introduction. And people think Brook is alien. No, Brook fit right in from the beginning. Had a bunch of gags, had a touching backstory, had a backstory that then brings us back to basically the start of our adventure. Brook has been perfect throughout. If you read Thriller Bark and things going up to Thriller Bark, he's been perfect. Even here, again, with him saying that his honor lies with Luffy. Perfectly written, has not skipped a beat. Whereas Jinbe now, I guess, is trying to be a funny haha character now because he can be taken advantage of. I'm not sure. The man with a billion-berry bounty. I'm not sure. Could you see Katakuri in this situation? Or Cracker? Or Smoothie has 900 million, but still. Or King. Or Queen. Or Jack. And don't give me the excuse that King and Queen were beaten by Green Bull. Totally different situation. This was after both of them had been defeated by Sanji and Zoro. So they were licking their wounds, and then an admiral showed up. So yeah, I could see why they got beaten by Green Bull. But Jinbe, no. Jinbe is fresh here. He did one little move. He's completely fine. That did not take a Herculean amount of effort to throw some water on some fire. I don't believe it. No. So he was fresh here, got taken advantage of, and then, well, here we are. But continuing. So I don't know. But ran over. We're moving on with the rest of the chapter. So from the top, we have the 32nd installment of the Yamato cover story, in which she has beaten the brakes off of Who's Who. We do not see OT nor page 1, but we have Raizo feeding Yamato some rice cakes as Tama embraces him. And what I didn't know is that Raizo now is the daimyo of Udon, which kind of makes sense now because Udon is a lush forest thanks to Green Bull. So that's pretty cool. It's very, I guess, in theme with Raizo being a ninja. So while we don't see page 1 or OT, we do see a guy holding up Who's Who's mask. So I wonder in the 33rd installment of the cover story, will we see what Who's Who actually looks like? Because we have an image of him with his mask off, and he is a horned person like Yamato, OT, and page 1, but we've never seen his eyes, because back when he was a Cypherpole agent, he had his hair over his eyes. So we don't really know what he actually looks like. So I wonder if that's going to be revealed. Because I still think, based on a video I made a while ago, that he's probably going to join Yamato as well. And we'll have to see how those events transpire. But yeah, 32nd installment. So yeah, this could actually be the longest cover story of the series. We'll have to see. But yes, so Summers has defeated Saul. Like I said before, the Straw Hats, including Jinbe, Brook, Usopp, and Nami, have all been bound up by Gunko. Gunko has the ability to make a sword with her arrows, which is kind of interesting. It's like a rapier, too. A fencing weapon being pointed at someone who fences. How interesting. How odd. I wonder if these two are connected, because it is a rapier, because we see her in the next scene and it has the whole bulbous hilt and the fancy guard. So yeah, no, it's a proper fencing weapon. Quite interesting indeed. But we also find out that Summers and Killingham are big wusses because they don't want to pick a fight with a Yonko crew. However, Gunko stands 10 toes down on business, and she wants Brook to be her music slave. Shout out to Zach because he called this on the Rose Gold podcast. Shout out to him. But yes, of course, Brook refuses. Gunko kicks him away. However, even though we find out in this chapter that she is a Soul King fan, it's very interesting that when she kicks him away, she clenches her chest as if it hurt her heart deeply that he both rejected her offer and that she had to kick him away because of it. I find that very interesting, but continuing. And then Summers continues to broadcast to the rest of Elbaf and how he has captured 10 children, right? While he's doing that, we get a few scenes of the nightmare creatures, and we got some odd ones here. There's one that's a dog with the body of a spider, so I don't know what that one's about. There's some more Draugr, and then there's another one that looks like a dragon. However, we are presented with a winged lion creature. I don't know what this could be. It could be Oda's depiction of a Lamassu or a Manicore, or it could be another depiction of a Sphinx, even though Sphinxes are real animals in the One Piece world. This could be another take on one because it has to come from the imaginations, or I guess dreams / nightmares of the people of Elbaf. So I don't know. I hope we get some names for some of these because that one, the dog, are super interesting. But as Summers continues to broadcast and how he beat up Saul and all that, we have more confirmation that Summers could be a special paramecia because we see him riding on a vine that is now looking more like a snake. So not only can Summers make constructs, he can make them into different shapes as well. This reminds me in a similar vein to, say, Magellan, as he made hydras out of his venom and the venom demon he made out of his venom with wings and such. So this gives me a feeling like that. Or say when Gunko made her big arrow bird a few chapters back. This has the same kind of vibe. So yeah, Summers just might be a special paramecia, like I presume Gunko to be. And Magellan did a whole video on that. I keep advertising that because I think that was such a good video. Go check that out. But yeah, continuing. Also in his speech, Summers calls himself the Dagger of the Holy Land Mary Joie. So I don't know if that's a separate title or an epithet that he has for himself, which I guess makes sense because he's a vine man, so, or a thorn man rather. So thorn, dagger, I can see the relation. I do wonder what powers does he have for himself? Like, what effects does his powers have on his own body? And then we still need to find out what that force field bit was all about. Like, what generates that? Because we never see Summers actually do it. Is there a remote thing, or is it like a awakened ability? Don't know. We'll have to find that out. But yes, the children finally wake up from their slumber and they figure out that they are being guided by the arrow. Colin, now joining them, snaps back at them saying that he is not a weakling like the rest of them, which culminates in a very funny situation in which he too, like the rest of the children, are scared by the nightmare creatures as they appear in front of them, which is a weird cow monster and the same ghost with the horn hat. I don't know what this ghost creature's about. What is this even of? This cuts into a very funny scene in which the giant warrior pirates, headed by Dorian Broggy, are being attacked by The motherly nightmare creatures, which apparently are also the mothers of some of the giant warrior pirates. And these constructs actually managed to crash their ship. That's hilarious, bruh. That's so funny. And as they crash, we get a closer shot at Summers' weird vine snake. And yet, it really does remind me of Magellan's Hydra. Because Magellan's Hydra also had these weird eyes, as did the Venom Demon. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's the same type of paramecia as him. Because a lot of them do make these weird constructs. Katakuri made constructs of his hands and legs. Gonko made the bird. Magellan made the Hydra and the Venom Demon. Oh, who else? You had Mr. 3 make constructs of himself, and then the whole suit of armor that he used to fight Luffy at the end of the arc. So yeah, I'm seeing some parallels. So seeing as how King Harold is dead, Summers is consulting Mountain Beard as the leader of Elbaf at this moment, and is putting the decision of the children's safety on his shoulders. That is when we cut to Ripley holding Frankie as Bonnie and Lilith are also on the scene, approaching the crash ship of the giant warrior pirates. And Summers gives Jarl the ultimatum that they shall be the thralls of the world government in exchange for the children's safety. That's when all the children are listed off, and some of them are the relatives of some people in the giant warrior pirates, as well as Jarl's granddaughter, Ylva, Ylva. But cutting down to a very interesting one, we finally have the name of the horn girl that we've been seeing throughout the arc. Her name is Joanna. And yeah, she has horns, so that means she has ancient giant blood in her. And apparently, based on what she says here in response to Bit, she's an orphan. So I wonder who her parents were. That's interesting. But that's what he too announces, that they have captured Colin, as Colin was on the way to rescue his friends, which fills Gabon with pride, which is very good. I like that. Which results in his wife Ripley chastising him not to be proud at this moment, as serious things are going on. But of course, Summers goes on to say that the Warrior School and the Owl Library are pointless artifacts that have no place in the land of warriors. And if they don't burn down the library and the Warrior School, they'll actually kill the kids one by one. Of course, this angers everyone. And Summers puts this decision on the shoulders of Jarl. And a librarian at the Owl Library screams out that no, you can't do this. The Warrior School is a symbol of Elbaf turning things around. And of course, the Owl Library is a great preservation place for their history, as well as the scholars of Ohara. This, of course, immediately angers Robin and Gabon, and they are on their way to defend the Warrior School, the children, and the Owl Library. Great. I love to see Robin in action. Oh, Robin is so ready. She's so fierce. Robin only fights. Could you believe it? Are we actually going to see Robin face off against one of the Holy Knights? Give her the Billion-Berry Bounty. She is dope. Please let me see a Robin fight. Come on, bruh. Now, with all this bluster that we're getting at the end of this chapter, please don't let it result in nothing. At least give her a good shake at one of them. I'll take anything. Let her beat up. I guess she would probably have to fight Summers, because it would be a very interesting dynamic, seeing as how she probably can't break his back because he's a thorn man and the thorns would hurt her hands. But still, it would be interesting to see her power through that and actually break him. I wonder if she has hockey. Could you imagine if this was her hockey debut? Because I don't see why not. I mean, Bonnie has hockey. I don't see why she can't. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm very excited. No break next week, which is very cool. But with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts and tell your friends about Polypede. What's it?